Our Hebrew brothers and sisters, welcome back. We just want to take this moment to say thank you for all your subscriptions. Thank you for your comments, and we trust that you will continue to like and to subscribe. Invite your family members and your friends also to like and subscribe to this channel. This is your Murray, Yeshua ben Uriah Israel, and we just want to tell you that we love you and we appreciate you, and thank you for all you're doing to help advance this ministry. Today we want to talk about the Hebrew Israelites' maturity. The Hebrew Israelites' maturity. We're scattered all over the globe. We're scattered everywhere. And you know, in these times, we need to be mature. We need to be mature. And the question is, why is it that many Hebrew Israelites are lagging behind in spiritual growth and maturity? Why? When we are not aiming for full maturity, our brothers and my sisters, we are unable to cope with the simplest or minute things that the devil threw our way. And the enemies are able to maneuver and bring us back into bondage. When we are not maturing spiritually, we become easy prey for the devil and for his traps. So, we are to aim at full maturity. The passage that we want to look at is in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 1 through 16. We're not going to be able to finish all of this in one, or to complete all of it in one session, so we'll have to go over to another session. But the question is, again, why aren't we aiming for full maturity? And if I should answer the question, my brothers and my sisters, it's because we give more time to tribal issues that consumes us, and less time to the things of Yahuwah and His Word. When I was a kid, growing up in the island of Jamaica, I remember we used to walk to school almost 4 miles one way. My parents were not able to pay the bus fare, and there was no free ride from the school out to the school. It was after I finished my course of studies in that school, it was later on that they had free rides. But we had to do everything in our power to hold ourselves in what we would refer to as respectful standard. We are wearing uniform, and each school had what you call a lapel with different colorings that differentiate one school from the other. So they'll know if a student messed up, they know what school exactly they're from. So we didn't want to give any blame to ourselves. We didn't want to do anything that would embarrass our parents and the school. So we have to walk circumspectly. We have to act real mature. We couldn't go around acting silly. Ephesians 4 verses 1 through 16. Paul the apostle, he exhorts us and he gives us some pointers that would enable us to aim to full maturity in Yahuwah. Full maturity in Yahuwah. Now, let me say this. Based on what Paul said in Ephesians chapter 4 verses 1 through 16, is that there are at least two maturing aspects. At least two maturing aspects that we see in this. And the first one is spiritual understanding. Spiritual understanding. And the second is practical understanding. Now, the spiritual understanding is defined in verses 1 through 6. And it is an exaltation to Hamashiach-centered walk. An exhortation to a Hamashiach-centered walk. Verse 1. Listen what it said, and I'm reading from the translation, the scripture. This is what it said. I call upon you, therefore, I the prisoner of the Master, to walk worthily of the calling with which you were called. In verse 2 it said, with all humility and meekness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, being eager to guard the unity of the Ruach in the bond of peace. You see, based on what Paul is saying here, we are to walk worthy. Walk worthy. The Hebrew Israelites' walk is that of deserving effort, attention, or respect, having or showing the qualities or the abilities that merit recognition in a specific way. We walk good enough or suitable. We walk good enough or suitable. I want you to notice another word. Vocation. The vocation here is also the word for calling. And even though I'm not going to do a lot of word studies, but I want you to notice here that this word is mikra. Mikra. And the Hebrew word mikra, there are four Hebrew letters that made up this word, and it is mem, kaf, resh, and aleph. Literally meaning is something which has been called out, or a public meeting, calling together an assembly. In the Torah, there are two basic meanings. One is a convocation of the Hebrew Israelites. That is, Yahuwah summons them And 2 is the result of reading aloud, as seen in Nehemiah 8, verse 8. So, in Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 8. Mikra also designated weekly Sabbath, as we see in Leviticus 23, verse 2, and the new moons in Ezekiel 46, verse 3. It was also used for the 7 special convocations, Sabbaths, such as the time included the formal call of the people to worship by means of the blast of the trumpet, as seen in Numbers chapter 10, verses 2, and also verse 10. Now, I want us to notice here that we are to walk worthy. Walk worthy. Based on this passage, we are to walk worthy. Okay? Notice, my brothers and my sisters, that the Hebrew Israelites' walk is a calling to a vocation. I want us to remember how he called our great-great-grandfather Abraham out of Ur of Chaldea. Notice his walk. It was a walk of faith. How he left his homeland to Canaan land. And from that, we have his son and his grandson, Jacob or Jacob. And they were moving to Egypt because of the famine. They were in Egypt, multiplied into millions. And notice how Yahuwah called them out of Egypt into the land of Canaan. And they were there for a while. But because of unbelief and negligence, they lost out and were taken into captivities, into Assyria and also into Babylon. The northern kingdom was taken into Assyria and scattered all over the world. Almost 200 years later, the southern kingdom was taken. Judah and Benjamin was taken. And here they are, into foreign lands, scattered everywhere, all over the globe. In the United States, in the Caribbean, in Africa, in Europe, in South America, in Asia, everywhere they are. Now, Yahuwah is calling us back to him. So we see then that there was, in this passage, an invitation to come back, to walk worthy. A command to walk worthy. An exhortation to walk worthy. An exhortation to a Hamashiach-centered life. But I want to notice in verse 2, there is an exhortation to the basis of a Hamashiach-centered walk. Long-suffering. The Hebrew Israelite walk is also a walk of long-suffering. Having or showing patience in spite of trouble, especially those that cause us to get mad because of their doings, he wants us to walk and to be able to have a life that is worthy to him, long-suffering, patient. And so we have to stop here, and we'll continue. Well, my brothers and my sisters, walk with the King and be a blessing. Shalom.